possible through the support of our generous sponsors. The Talk of Paynesville, a Paynesville Area Community Education production in association with the Paynesville Area Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening and welcome to our 26th episode of the Talk of Paynesville. I'm Jacob Bertram.
And I'm Faith DeCousin. Thank you for joining us live today. We are glad you are watching. Please enter your questions or interview ideas in the comment section below at any time during this broadcast, and we will try to get them into the show. Today, February 22nd, is National California Day, National Cook a Sweet Potato Day, and National Margarita Day.
Well, don't worry, we don't have any margaritas on the set, but I'm sure our colleague Ben Bugbee is enjoying a virgin margarita in Mexico. So hopefully he's enjoying the vacation down there. Well, Faith and viewers at home, we have a fantastic show planned for you tonight. Our in-studio guest is local historian Brian Haines. We also have our local trivia contest, the jokes of the month, chamber member spotlight, our inspirational quote of the day, and of course, your Meg Wealth Management Money Minute. We'd like to start the show with some local news.
All Bulldog winter sports have been doing well the last couple of weeks. Boys basketball is 6-5 on the season. Girls basketball has a record of 4-6. Hockey, wrestling, and gymnastics have also been thriving throughout the season.
Yes, they have, Faith, and it's great to see so many talented athletes participating in winter sports. Here's a live stream schedule for this week. On Friday, February 26th, boys basketball will take on the BBE Jaguars starting at 7:15 p.m. And on Monday, March 1st, girls basketball hosts the Jaguars BBE with varsity starting at 7 p.m. Both games will be featured on our live stream channel at Paynesville Studios. Paynesville Chamber has announced their 2021 Paynesville Parade, which will take place Thursday, June 17th at 7 p.m. If you're interested in being a part of the parade, feel free to email myself at jacob@paynesvillechamber.org.
If you would like to give back to your community, please consider joining the Paynesville Chamber of Commerce. They host well-attended events like Town and Country Days, Halloween trick-or-treating, Holiday Light Fight, and many more. The Chamber also provides chamber bucks to the player of the game for our sports live stream. This show is even sponsored by the Paynesville Chamber. If you are interested in joining, please visit their website at paynesvillechamber.org.
Now it's time for local trivia. This week, we venture back to the 1900s when people used to harvest ice from Lake Coronas to keep their food cold. Question for this week is, how much did one ice block weigh? A, 400 pounds, B, 50 pounds, C, 30 pounds, or D, 500 pounds? Enter your answer in the comment section below. You might be our lucky winner tonight. The answer will be revealed later in the show. Good luck to everyone. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Meg Wealth Management has offices located in Paynesville and in Willmar and is a comprehensive wealth management, investment, and insurance firm. As your trusted advisors, we are wholly dedicated to helping you reach a higher purpose for your wealth and design a lasting legacy for your family. We leverage deep industry knowledge, a vast network of specialized services, proven investment strategies, and a passion for serving you. Let Meg Wealth Management help you live your life by design, not by default.
When everything is in one place, it's easier to stay focused on your own life. At Central Minnesota Credit Union, we've streamlined our financial tools to ensure you have everything you need all under one roof. Whether you're starting a family, starting a business, or buying a home, CMCU is here to be a trusted financial partner. CMCU offers free checking options and a network of financial experts. Because when everything is in one place, it's easier to stay focused on your own life.
M&M Lumber is your lumberyard, hardware store, paint department, and rental center, all rolled into one convenient location. Their
Our operation includes numerous departments staffed with knowledgeable personnel who are able to assist with material estimates, product selection, provide tips to make your project go more smoothly. Stop by M&M Lumber today to get your ideas and plans in motion. Visit their website at mmlumberrental.com. The experts at Gilk Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning provide fast, affordable HVAC and plumbing repair for your home, business, and remodeling service. They offer plumbing and water jetting services along with heating and air conditioning products, insulation, drain cleaning products, and other services. Gilk Plumbing, Heating, and AC is based out of Richmond, Minnesota, and serves the surrounding areas. For friendly, experienced technicians you can count on, better get Gilk. Find them on their website at gilkplumbing.com.
Right now, Jacob is in with Brian Haines, our local historian. Let's see what he has to say.
All right, I'm joined with Mr. Brian Haines. Brian, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Pleasure.
All right, and for people at home who don't know you so well, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brian. I am born and raised in Paynesville. I'm married to a beautiful woman. I have a son at home. Went to school here in Paynesville. Best student Paynesville High School has ever saw. Just ask any of my old teachers, they'll tell you. Went to St. Cloud State University, graduated with a history degree, and now I work in the museum field as an executive director.
That's great. So how did you become so interested in local Paynesville history?
I just always have been. I've got a little bit of a family tie to Paynesville history, and so maybe that's part of it, but I've just always been interested by it.
Well, it's great to see, and we got some pictures lined up for you, so we're just going to say a little bit, just generally, how did the town of Paynesville get started?
So back in about 1856, 1857, a group of settlers came to town. They were led by a man named William B. Reed, and two of those settlers, one was named Edwin Payne, the other was George Lincoln, and they were the first to stake their claim on the land. The picture on the screen right now is Edwin Payne. His farm was kind of over where Fleet is, and George Lincoln's farm was kind of where Dairy Queen is right now. And they tried to start a town then. It was going to be called Onawa, and it was this was kind of under the leadership of this man, George Reed, who came from Hastings. And for some reason, the town plot or the claim was never made, and he went back to Hastings. They tried again later in 1857, or early in 1857, I should say, to start a town on the site, and that failed. Also, the place they wanted for their town site, where they had drawn it up, was on school land. And the way the laws worked then, if you were setting up a town site claim, you had to have certain sections in each town site, or in each township range, I should say. Certain sections would have to be, one would have to be designated for a school, one would have to be designated for a church. And they would do this so that people couldn't come in and buy up all the land, and then you wouldn't have any kind of a school or church or something like that. And so the second attempt, they had put it on school land and didn't realize it because a survey hadn't been done yet. And so a survey was finally done, and then the third attempt, and this was led by Payne, Edwin Payne, and the other settlers that were in the town, of course, played a part in it too. And they set up their town site on the west end of town, kind of where Dollar General, BNC is right now. So that was where Paynesville was sitting. And part of the land, or the bulk of the land, was Edwin Payne's. And he was the kind of in charge of the whole deal. So he ended up getting the namesake of the town as Paynesville. From there, let's see, they attracted quite a few settlers. A lot of them came from out east in the New York area. A lot of them were actually neighbors out there, and so they must have had some kind of a land agent or some kind of advertisement out there for this specific area, because a lot of them all came from, within shouting distance of each other. Town started to grow. Everything was right along what is Mill Street now. There was actually, the town was plotted out north of the river too. Now there's nothing over there. There's a farm and there's a house. Part of the town was platted out to be north of the river also. Eventually that was vacated and they just stayed south of the river. Some of the early, early recollections of the town refer to it as an Indian camp because there was typically more Native Americans in the town site than there were white settlers. And that was due mostly, they would come through and trade and then they would come through and hunt. And so you just had a handful of white settlers living in log cabins during the early part of the town. There was a church, a Methodist church. There was a tiny little schoolhouse, a post office, and really that was about it other than the farms that were in the area. The town continued to grow till about 1862. And in 1862, the Dakota Native Americans, or Sioux, started fighting war against the white settlers. And main reason is they were kind of feeling cheated out of their land. They had signed almost all of their land over to the United States and to open it up for settlement. The dealings in the treaty were somewhat, I don't know if you could call them shady if you wanted to. You could say they didn't understand the treaty. There's kind of different camps in how you look at it. But what resulted was they felt cheated and they were hungry. They were starving. There was money that was supposed to be coming in from the government every year to be paying for this land. And then it's supposed to get dispersed among the tribe. And in 1862, that money was very late. And so these the natives are buying everything they can on credit because they don't have any money. And the store owners or traders start cutting off the credit because they are afraid that the money's never coming and that they're never going to get paid because they have their livelihoods are sunk into this as well. Mm-hmm. And so they cut off their credit, and basically the Dakota start starving. And there's an episode in Acton, Minnesota, which is just kind of over by Litchfield area. And what happens is 4 Indians are coming through. They're on a hunting trip, and through a series of events, they end up murdering some white settlers. They run back to their camp. They say, "What's going on? We've got blood on our hands." And what ensues is a all-out war between large factions of the Dakota. Not all of them, that's important to remember, but large factions of Dakota start going out and raiding cabins, killing settlers. And Paynesville is one of these settlements that they are, coming after. And so what the townspeople do is they build a fort. It's a little makeshift fort, kind of over where Zap Leather and Cycle is. And they built a little sod fort. They took the schoolhouse and they took the church and they put them together and put a little sod stockades between them or sod walls between them. And they send a group of men out towards Lake Johanna or Belgrade Bruton area, all the way around to Norway Lake settlement, which is Norway Lake over by Spicer. And then they kind of just made a little triangular patrol basically to get all the settlers in the area back to safety, bring them back into the fort. There's a couple of close calls during this time. One settler, his name was Samuel Roach. He and another guy are out on their farm and they're doing their chores because a lot of these farmers would go out, do their chores during the day, and then they would come back and sleep in the stockade at night. And they're coming back and they're coming along the Crow River, and they run into a huge party of Dakota that are camped out by the river. And so they end up sitting on a log all night long, afraid to move, basically. In the morning, they wake up, or they probably didn't sleep, so they probably didn't wake up in the morning. The Indians leave, sure. And they head back to the fort. And it's kind of just in time because the military has come to the fort now, and they're evacuating the people of Paynesville. And there's a lot of people that weren't from Paynesville that were coming into the fort for safety, people that had been attacked farther out west and to the south that were coming in, because you have to remember there aren't a lot of settlements around right now. So Paynesville is like we're like the edge of civilization, so to speak. And so a lot of these farmers living out on the countryside are seeking refuge in the fort. Anyway, the military comes and evacuates them, and so basically Paynesville is abandoned. Everybody who lives here is a refugee, and they go to Richmond, St. Cloud. Some of them head back out east. A lot of them, including Edwin Payne, the namesake, never returned to Paynesville again. But at any rate, they stay in Richmond, the bulk of them. And in September, they have crop in the field, wheat that they want to thresh. They don't want it to go to waste because if they have nothing at this point, they're living on somebody else's dime in Richmond. And so if their crop fails, then they starve. So they have nothing. So this group of guys, there's 10 of them, nine or 10, don't quote me on that, but it's 9 or 10, one of those two. And they come back to Paynesville. There's been no sign of Indians in the area, anything like that. And they stay in the fort during the night, and they go out and they work their farms during the day to try and get as much crop as they can, and then head back to Richmond. Well, they work for 3 days, and they don't realize it, but they're being spied on by the Dakota on all 3 days because they're watching to make sure there's not more whites or soldiers in the area.
Sure.
The reason we know this is because there was 2 French fur trappers that were captive of the band that would later go on to testify. So, and the number of Indians actually is 250 of them. So this is a very sizable band. Some reports say it was Little Crow. I'm not sure because Little Crow, and this is the man who's kind of quote unquote leading the uprising. He was very familiar with Paynesville, and he had friends who lived in Paynesville, but he might have been somewhere else at this time if you start looking at the whole history of it. But at any rate, on the 3rd night, they wake up and their fort is on fire, basically. And they step out to see what's going on, and they get shot at. The Dakota, this war party, is attacking the town. Interesting, too, they heard like plain English being spoken, too. So there was clearly whites with the group of Indians. And these attacking, not just as captives, but they could hear. So there were whites, or they were mixed blood, or something that was with them. But at any rate, they're able to basically dig a hole in the bottom of the stockade by the wall and escape on the north end of the stockade and down to the river. One of the guys, James Boylan, or John or James Boylan, I think it was John actually, was shot in the leg and was actually bleeding quite bad. They were afraid he was going to die. So they get him out, and the Indians are looking for him. But kind of fate intervened, and a huge thunderstorm falls on the town at this time, or in the area, and so they're able to escape in the thunderstorm. They find an old farmhouse just north of town where they're able to patch up Boylan. I think 3 of the guys stay back, and the rest of them head towards Richmond to get help and come back, which they did, and Boylan was saved. The entire town, except for 1 building, was completely destroyed, or 2 buildings actually. And these were buildings owned by the Bennett family. William Pitt Bennett, he owned the hotel in town. There was 1 framed building in town at this time, and it was a hotel, and it was built by the first settlers that came through. It sat right about where Dollar General is today. And this was saved because Bennett and his wife were always really good to Indians when they would come through. And his hired man, Daniel Chisholm, was really good friends with Little Crow. And so they saved this building, and they saved Bennett's farm. But at any rate, the rest of the town is completely destroyed. It's completely burnt up. A few months later, the settlers start coming back into town. This time they have the army with them because the military comes, and they actually build a wooden stockade. That picture that was up before of the fort was actually the wooden stockade that the military built. They garrisoned it for a couple of years, and the settlers started coming back in, started rebuilding their town. Again, everything was kind of along Mill Street right there. If you ever notice, we have a main street in Paynesville, and there's almost nothing on it. And it was kind of put there as an after effect. It's like, hey, we need a main street, so let's put a main street right here. But the entire downtown at the time is on that west end of Paynesville. Very few pictures. The one that's on the screen is one of the very few that we have that even shows any part of the old Paynesville or the old downtown. it grows. Eventually you have your general stores, and you have your church, and you have your your little schoolhouse, and you have the livery, confectionery shops, drugstores, grocery stores. And then in 1880, what happens is the railroad is coming through Paynesville, or 1886, not 1880, excuse me. Excuse me. Two railroads are coming through, the Great Northern Railroad and the Sioux Line Railroad. The Great Northern Railroad is kind of bypassing Paynesville and going just to the north. The Sioux Line is coming a little bit closer to Paynesville. So what happens at this time, one of my ancestors, his name is James Haines, their farm is was where downtown is now, the current downtown site. And so the railroad's coming through, and they actually give land for a depot to the Sioux Line. In exchange for the railroad would send people in that could plot off a new town, because they were going to basically build a second town right where our downtown is now. And so what they do is they build a depot, the railroad comes through, and then they give away some plots for businesses that are in Old Paynesville to move over to this new town. The drugstore, or the old drugstore, which is now like a eBay kind of store or something downtown, that was the very first building that was moved down. Right across the street from there, I think it's a hair place and Glory Rifles, the insurance place. That was the next building to move over, which was the Paynesville Press, actually, at that time. A few other buildings moved over. I believe they sold off some of the lots as well, kind of like a half and half deal, because they weren't going to just give all their land away, right? They're going to sell some of it.
Right.
And essentially now you have this town, and it was called Jimtown because Jim Haines is the guy who kind of is behind all of this. At the same time, you have another town sprouting up just north of Paynesville, where Bork Lumber is now, along the Great Northern Railroad depot that goes up over there, and that's Northtown. So essentially, you have three Paynesvilles all at once. You have two post offices. There's one in Old Paynesville. There's one in Jimtown. You have the two railroads. You presumably have three separate little city governments, or ad hoc kind of governments going on. These towns hated each other, absolutely hated each other. If you find old newspaper clippings from the 1880s, 1890s, they're just going at each other. They hated each other. And eventually what happens is the government steps in and says, okay, you guys get one. And this on the screen right now is kind of the closest thing I could find to Old Paynesville. This was in 1938. And this would be the west end, and it's kind of set up the way it would have been at that time. You can see how sparse it is compared to now.
Sure.
At any rate, the government steps in and says, you guys get one post office, figure out where it's going to be. And so at first they try to move the post office from Old Town, and they try to move that closer to where the Methodist Church is right now. Kind of right in the middle, then that'll work well. That didn't pan out. New Paynesville, as they were calling it, or Jimtown, ended up getting the post office. And a few years later, they consolidate and just start calling it Paynesville. So in kind of the war of Paynesville, the Jimtown or the New Paynesville kind of wins out. But it had a lot more to offer. It had the railroad coming through, as did Northtown, but the Sioux Line. I'll back up here just a little bit. When the railroads were coming through, they were kind of racing towards Paynesville. Because they were going to intersect just outside of Paynesville. And actually, if you go on the bridge on 55 going over Fleet, you can see the old abandoned Great Northern Trail and the Sioux Line where they would have crossed right there. And whoever got there first got the right of way. So the Sioux Line ended up getting there first. And an interesting story, it was due in large part to the people living in New Paynesville because they wanted that right of way. So the Great Northern at the time is winning this race, and people from New Paynesville basically go out with their torches and pitchforks and stop them and say, no, you're not going any farther. And they actually themselves start building the grade ahead of the Great Northern. So when the Sioux Line catches up, they've already got half of their grade done. Mm-hmm. So at any rate, the Sioux Line ends up getting the right of way, which means any trains coming through, the Sioux Line goes first and the Great Northern has to wait. So New Paynesville kind of has that going for it as well. It also has a creamery, or, the cold storage. It has a much bigger newspaper. Some of the buildings are newer; they're brick instead of the old timber-framed buildings that were on the west end of town. It's closer to the lake. There's advantages to being in New Paynesville, so that's kind of why it wins over. The buildings that were in the stores, or I should say that were in Old Paynesville, they actually uprooted them and just moved them down the road, basically down Mill Street into downtown, and set them there. They would just put logs underneath them, and they would kind of have like this little gear. They would dig a hole in the middle of the road because they're dirt roads at this time, and they would put a spindle in the road, and they would hitch their horses up to this spindle, and the horses would go in a circle and spin it, and basically the house or the building that's on logs then rolls along while the rope is tightening. And once it got so far, then they would just take it out, go 100 yards down the road, dig another hole, put it in, and they moved them that way. And the reason for that is dimensional lumber is really tough to come by at this time. A lot of lumber is being cut down, from woods in the area, from Lake Coronis, where all the woods were at the time. And so it's cheaper to actually go through all the hassle of moving your building than it is just to build a new building. So all these buildings move. Most of the buildings that are in downtown Paynesville now, at one time, were on the west end of the old downtown. And same with a lot of the houses that are kind of in that area. They all used to be over on the other side of town and were moved over. And even in Northtown, Northtown's kind of short-lived too, because they rely solely on grain. And they have several elevators in Northtown. And when the prices of grain start to tank, then the people start moving out of Northtown, and they start moving into Jimtown as well. So a lot of the buildings that you have in Paynesville came from there as well. That they moved them across the river and down the street and plopped them to where they want to go. So yeah, that's kind of the base of where Paynesville came from, how it got to be, as it is today. And it's kind of interesting that if you look at Paynesville, part of the reason why it started on the west end of town was because you could cross the river there. If you go just west of where the bridge crosses the river now, it's a lot lower, a little bit sandier, and so the wagons and horses, whatever, carts, people can cross the river right there. And so it makes for a natural travel corridor. So they build a town close to this travel corridor. You jump ahead 30 years later, and the town moves to the east along the Sioux line, because that's the main mode of transportation. And so the town moves to where the transportation is. And now, with the highway bypass going around town and moving out west, you're starting to see, businesses and things move out there. So it's really kind of if you're a history nerd like me, it's really kind of neat to see how civilization per se follows transportation, where you can go, how you can get somewhere. And we're seeing it now with the kind of a sense of downtown moving back to where it originated on the west end. So kind of neat.
Yeah, exactly. And when you talked about before, you have some ancestors in the game, and some of the people don't even know probably there was 3 Paynesvilles at one time. So that's, you kind of rattle that off like you just say it every day. So that's kind of cool that you just know that.
I'm sure I missed quite a bit of it that would be interesting. Sure. But we have a time limit, so everybody's going to want to go to bed at some point.
Yeah, probably.
Stop myself.
But that's very interesting, Brian. And so just jumping ahead here a little bit, you were the manager of the Paynesville Historical Museum. So you want to tell us a little bit about that museum and what's kind of involved there?
Yeah. So the Paynesville Historical Society Museum started in 1969 by Bertha Zaneski. Started out as just a little building in the old City Hall. Some people watching this probably remember the old City Hall, where it is now, but it was an old red and white 2-story building. Very Norman Rockwell looking. It was just in really rough shape, so they tore it down. But at any rate, the first museum was in the basement of the City Hall. They then moved to the old Methodist Church. It's been redone as a house now. It's just across the street from the actual Methodist Church now. The museum was in there for a number of years, and then it moved to where it is now, in an old furniture store over on Ampey Drive. If you kind of go by Binsfield, the tire place over there. We're really lucky to have a place of that caliber actually for a museum. A lot of small towns, the size of Paynesville, they don't have anything like that. Or if they do, it's just tiny and it's very rinky-dink, And Paynesville has so many artifacts in there, and it's done up so well. You walk in and there's a timeline that starts at prehistory and has Paynesville history documented all the way to modern times. There's a complete village that is made to depict what Paynesville would have been like in the Victorian age, 1880s, 90s, early 1900s. And this is an actual village built inside of the building. I mean, actual stores that you can walk into, cash registers, display cases. There's a saloon with a bar, and a cash register and tables and stairs going up. And it's really neat. It's, like I said, we're very lucky to have something like that. And then there's the country school that was moved over there, and the Ebenezer Church that was moved over there. So yeah, it's if you've never been there, it's you really owe it to yourself to take a trip down there, and it's kind of a hidden jewel, so to speak.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. I've been there a couple of times, and just over the years going there for schooling things and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely been a great asset to have in the Paynesville community as well.
Well, and there's so much information you can get, not just about history, but just kind of what makes Paynesville Paynesville. Yeah, it's kind of you learn about the lake, you learn about the economy, everything about Paynesville really is the heart and soul, the identity of our town really is in that building, where you can really find it. So
yeah, history definitely makes a very important step in their lives there, and we reflect from it also and kind of look back. So, well, I know you also have an article you do in the Paynesville Press. Kind of read that a couple of times. So if you want any more information, there's probably more different things that people don't know at home about Paynesville history in your articles. Yep. So you can check that out in the Paynesville Press. This Paynesville Historical Museum, I believe, is open on Memorial Day to Labor Day, or
typically just June 1st to about Labor Day. It's staffed every summer. I know when I was there, we stayed open during the wintertime too, but not very many people travel out that way in the winter. But it's actually can be a very busy place in the summertime. I kind of miss it, actually. Sitting there every day. So.
Yeah. Well, that's really sweet. Hopefully go check that out. Thank you again, Brian, for coming in today. A lot of history that we never knew, and now the viewers at home know, and hopefully they can tell their kids about it too someday.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's Brian Haines, our local historian. Now we'll go to our commercial break.
Make Wealth Management has offices located in Paynesville and in Wilmer, and is a comprehensive wealth management, investment, and insurance firm. As your trusted advisors, we are wholly dedicated to helping you reach a higher purpose for your wealth and design a lasting legacy for your family. We leverage deep industry knowledge, a vast network of specialized services, proven investment strategies, and a passion for serving you. Let Make Wealth Management help you live your life by design, not by default.
When everything is in one place, it's easier to stay focused on your own life. At Central Minnesota Credit Union, we've streamlined our financial tools to ensure you have everything you need all under one roof. Whether you're starting a family, starting a business, or buying a home, CMCU is here to be a trusted financial partner. CMCU offers free checking options and a network of financial experts. Because when everything is in one place, it's easier to stay focused on your own life.
M&M Lumber is your lumberyard, hardware store, paint department, and rental center, all rolled into one convenient location. Their operation includes numerous departments staffed with knowledgeable personnel who are able to assist with material estimates, product selection, provide tips to make your project go more smoothly. Stop by M&M Lumber today to get your ideas and plans in motion. Visit their website at mmlumberrental.com. The experts at Gilk Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning provide fast, affordable HVAC and plumbing repair for your home, business, and remodeling service. They offer plumbing and water jetting services along with heating and air conditioning products, insulation, drain cleaning products, and other services. Gilk Plumbing, Heating, and AC is based out of Richmond, Minnesota, and serves the surrounding areas. For friendly, experienced technicians you can count on, better get Gilk. Find them on their website at gilkplumbing.com.
Let's take one more look at this week's trivia question. The question is, how much did one ice block weigh? A, 400 pounds, B, 50, C, 30, or D, 500? Please put your answer in the comment section below. We now want to welcome Mr. Jeremy Wilner for this episode of Your Money Minute.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy Wilner, CEO, founder, and wealth advisor at Mag Wealth Management. And today I'm going to talk about retirement plans for businesses. I'm just going to give an example of 3 different plans that you can have. The first is a SEP plan. A SEP plan is a simplified employee pension. With this, the employee does not make contributions, but the employer makes the contributions. Each employee has their own separate account, and it's very easy to administer for a employer. The second type of plan is a simple plan. This one is also very easy, except with this one, the employer has to match contributions that are made by employees. With this one, the employee has the ability to defer money and the employer has a required match. And then finally, the 401k plan. With a 401k plan, there are many different options. You can have different match options for an employer. You can have a profit sharing contribution. And again, employees can defer or not defer. So there are many different options that are out there for employer plans and sponsored plans by an employer. If you'd like to have help with determining what might be the best plan for you, give us a call at 320-243-3100 or visit our website at magwealth.com and we'll help you evaluate your business and see which plan may be the best for you. I want to thank you all very much and have a great day.
Thanks, Jeremy, for your Money Minute. Again, if you would like to access to more information about today's Money Minute and how to contact the MagWealth team, you can visit their website at magwealth.com.
Let's take a look one more time at this week's trivia question. Make sure you enter your answer in the comment section below. Again, how much did one ice block weigh? And that is an actual picture of the ice block pulled by a team of horses there from Paynesville. 400 pounds, 50 pounds, 30 pounds, 500 pounds. Hopefully, if you're lucky enough, you might be a lucky winner. So time's ticking. So hurry up and get your answers in our comment section.
Now for our quote of the day. Winning doesn't always mean being first. Winning means you've done better than before. Bonnie Blair.
Another fantastic quote by Faith. Thank you so much for that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the jokes of the month.
You start.
All right, we got some fresh jokes for you out. Let's see here, Faith. Why doesn't the sun go to college? Because it has 1,000,000 degrees. Waiting for the crowd to react. We gotta laugh. Sweet.
Why did the orange stop running? It ran out of juice.
Good one. Another laugh. All right. Okay. Where does the sheep get his hair cut? At the Baba shop. We got a boo on that one. My jokes aren't as good as Ben's. I'm sorry. I can't help it.
Why couldn't the pirates play cards? The captain was standing on the deck.
Laugh on that one.
Now for our Paynesville Area Chamber of Commerce Member Spotlight.
Snap Fitness is a 24/7 gym that is locally owned and operated. They have cardio machines, free weights, and functional fitness area, along with a personal trainer is available to help you meet all your needs. They offer a safe, friendly, and clean environment to work out in during any time of the day. Call them at 243-2100. Bruce Stang started his business, Stang Precision, in Industrial Park in Paynesville as a 20-year-old just out of vocational school. Stang Precision makes over 200 plastic products, everything from hubs for rollerblades and tent stakes to parts for plastic bird feeders, tackle boxes, and more. Stang Precision also gives back to Paynesville by donating their time and efforts to better our community. Contact the wonderful people at Stang Precision by calling 243-3613.
All right, now time to answer our trivia question for this week. Looking at our viewers, we had Abe Dickhausen saying B. Before Brian left, he also made a guess, and he said B as well, 50 pounds. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is A, 400 pounds. Now, that's a lot of ice.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Don't want to haul that around. They used to haul the ice to local creameries and homes in the Paynesville area. And farmers were able to help out with that, and they were paid $5 a day to deliver the ice. I don't know if I want to be doing that now.
No.
But that's our trivia question. Thank you for answering in, and maybe next week you can be our winner.
Thanks everyone for watching. Please take a moment to hit the subscribe button and like our broadcast. Also, don't forget to enter interview ideas in the comment section below. See you next time. I'm Faye Dickhausen.
And I'm Jacob Bertram. Stay safe and
Stay
stay cool,
cool,
Paynesville.
Paynesville.